In this video, we solve the quadratic equation negative 3x squared minus 10x plus 8 equals 0. Now we can see clearly that we have a trinomial here. There are three terms: quadratic term, linear term, constant term. And for the quadratic term, the coefficient does not equal 1. And therefore, we know the best method for factoring here is the AC method that incorporates factor by grouping. So let's get into it. In the AC method, we take A, which is negative 3, that's our A, and we take C, which is 8. We are going to multiply A times C, so negative 3 times 8, that gives us negative 24. And we want to find the factor pair, the factors of A times C, which is negative 24. And we want to find the specific factor pair that when you add them together, the sum of those factors gives us B, the middle term, which is negative 10. Now, because AC is negative, we know that our factor pairs will be one term positive and one term negative. But let's just consider the factors of 24. We have 1 times 24. We have 2 times 12. 4 times 6. And 3 times 8. Now, because our middle term is negative, we'd like the larger factor to be negative. So negative 24, negative 12, negative 6, and negative 8. So let's now check the sum of each of these factors. 1 plus negative 24 gives us negative 23. That does not equal negative 10. 2 plus negative 12, that does give us negative 10. So that is the factor pair that we are going to use, 2 and negative 12. And here's how we use them. We are going to actually split the middle term. We're going to take the negative 10x and split it into two terms, a positive 2x and the negative 12x. Positive 2 and negative 12 coming from our factor pair. The rest of the equation stays the same. Negative 3x squared plus 8 equals 0. And now that we have a quadratic equation with 4 terms, it is prime for us to use factor by grouping. So the first 2 terms will be group 1, second 2 terms will be group 2. We want to find the common factor from each group. So in the first group, negative 3x squared and 2x, the common factor is x. And we are left with negative 3x plus 2. In the second group, negative 12x plus 8, the common factor is 4. If we factor out a positive 4, we're left with negative 3x plus 2. And of course, it all still equals 0. Now this is perfect. We see here that we have a negative 3x plus 2 and a negative 3x plus 2, and those are common. So if I were to factor the negative 3x plus 2 out, I'd be left with x plus 4, and here's our negative 3x plus 2, and that equals 0. Now, of course, we have our factors, x plus 4 and negative 3x plus 2 being multiplied, and that equals 0. So I can split them using the zero product property, and that will give us x plus 4 equals 0 and negative 3x plus 2 equals 0. And we can solve them separately. For the first equation, if we subtract 4 from both sides, we're left with x equals negative 4. For the second equation, if we subtract 2 from both sides, we're left with negative 3x equals negative 2. and then divide by negative 3 on both sides, we get x equals negative 2 over negative 3, or just positive 2 over positive 3. And these are the solutions to our quadratic equation.